And welcome to another Energy Facts Chat. Your co-host, JP Warren, tuning in from Houston, Texas. We got Mike Umbro, our other co-host, tuning in from San Diego. And just so everyone knows out there, kind of viewing in and tuning in, thank you so much. You can find this on, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can take this on the road with you. You can listen to this on any podcast streaming platform you have. And be sure to check out Californians for Energy and Science.com. And that was kind of the whole inspiration about this. Kind of, Mike, what you and your team's doing out there, and that's www.energyandscience.com. And check that out. Sign up, kind of stay up to date to what's going on in Mike's world. But want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you're enjoying this, share it, spread the energy, the EFC community, if you will. And for those that don't know, we are recording this on May 20th, and this is a Saturday. It is a family weekend, but this takes precedence. Mike Umbro has been blowing me up, hot off the press, excited to discuss the most recent events that's going on in California right now, and that's what we're about to do. So, Mike, on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, when there's so much to do with my daughter, my beautiful wife, let's dive into what's happening in California.
Oh man, we better be efficient with your time. I've already been to a couple soccer practices. Target for a little Lego set, a little reward. Goal was scored today, so we're all fired up over here. Not me, my 6-year-old or 5. Well, he's almost 6,
but turned 6. Yeah, mine's
turning 6 in August, and he's starting to get to the point in the games where there's focused defense. He's body to body, stealing the ball and going after it. I think you love that. I mean, he's getting into it. Yeah.
So for those that don't know Mike, he is a football aficionado. So I can only imagine your excitement seeing him on the side of the when you're on the side of the field, seeing him hustle out there and score those goals. So hats off to him.
Yes.
Did he get excited? Did he run around and say goal?
Yeah, he's a modest guy. He scores and he gets a little smile and some pump in the fist.
That's all he needs. Gets back.
No celebration. Yeah, get back into the game.
I like that. That's focus.
Let's go.
That's determination. Yeah. That's
exactly.
That's determination. Much like what we are here doing today. This is determination to bring you to bridge energy facts, energy expectations with energy realities on our energy facts chat. So something's going on in California right now. Gavin just passed or did something to, what was it called? The Executive Department of the State of California Executive Order N-8-23.
That's right. Okay,
let's dive into this. What is happening? And I just skimmed this, and obviously I'm going to give you my kind of takeaways from this. And I only read probably about 2.5 pages before we hopped on this. But I stopped myself because I don't want to know a lot about this. I kind of want to learn kind of like pretty much like someone that's not on this show that's kind of maybe tuning in for the first time in the car, like what's going on, what's this all about. So I'm going to be asking a lot of dumb questions like I normally do, and you're going to be answering them, and let's get involved. So what is this all about, Mike?
Well, this all went down yesterday. I didn't know. I think I heard on Thursday there was something Governor Newsom was going to announce permit streamlining efforts to advance energy and infrastructure projects. And you and I have talked a lot about this, the boomerang and the bridge building opportunity between a fossil industry that is being told, hey, you're going to transition, and the clean tech or climate agenda side of the house that's saying, hey, we've got all these projects that can't be built. And so, this is exciting. I've been fired up about this, and we don't obviously.
I can tell, Mike.
we don't have the time, and we don't need to read this document. We should surely put this in the link so people can read the executive order. It's a 5-page document, but basically says, hey, California is a nation state. We're going to be the 4th largest economy in the world here.
Right.
We need to modernize our energy, water, transportation, communications infrastructure.
That's broadband, right?
Yeah. There's a National Inflation Reduction Act that's got $390 billion in it, and $1.2 trillion through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act at the federal level.
Okay.
And California is expected to receive about $180 billion of that federal money because we are the climate agenda leader of the country. So it would make sense. You're going to get a lot of a lion's share of that capital. The state is also putting billions of dollars towards this effort. And what's most exciting about it, it starts on page 3, but he is putting together what he's called a quote unquote strike team. That's exciting.
I'll take a task force.
Yes,
strike team. Yes,
a strike team. That means they are going to get the job done to identify projects on which to focus streamlining efforts. I love that. We're going to support coordination between federal, state, tribal, and local governments, as well as state agencies on project review, permitting, and approvals. And we're going to support infrastructure in particular sectors, making complementary investments. We're going to share challenges and best practices across agencies. And basically what this says to me when I read it is there's a lot going on. We've identified these massive goals that we're trying to get to in the next 20 to 30 years. And this executive order and his announcement yesterday recognizes we're not going to get this done unless we get serious about communicating, interagency communications and how to permit new projects and transition projects, and how to, in our case, we have the California Environmental Quality Act, which is more stringent than NEPA, the federal act on environmental protection.
Well, I mean, again,
and oftentimes you'll have projects that have to qualify for CEQA and then maybe after qualify for NEPA. So you've got like multiple, 2 to 5 year approvals just in, CEQA and NEPA, which then, now we're talking what, a decade just to get these qualified and approved projects.
And that puts me to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. It puts you to sleep. But page 2 of the Wall Street Journal.
Newsom, and those of you tuning in, this is a prop for those of you tuning in, you are seeing a prop that we stopped so Mike can go grab the prop for y'all out there watching us.
Yes.
What does it say?
So Newsom aims to cut red tape on green energy. And this is the quote I pulled out. It's about saving time and saving money and addressing bureaucratic malaise.
Malaise.
I love it. I don't want any malaise in my bureaucracies.
You know what? Give me processes, hold the malaise.
Exactly.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So why are you so pumped up about this? Why are you so amped up right now?
I'm pumped up because our team specifically at Premier Resource Management, my company, we're trying to permit and develop a synthetic geothermal project. So a project within oil and around known oil fields, but we're saying, hey, we're trying to develop a clean power plant for the people of California. And why this excites me is prior to this announcement and prior to Governor Newsom and his administration taking this action, there's been, I don't know what you call it, confusion, malaise. Maybe it's bureaucratic malaise where when an operator of a project that comes out of an area traditionally recognized as fossil fuels goes to a state agency and says, hey, we're trying to develop a clean power project. It's very difficult for a large state agency to wrap their heads around that and to say, okay, well, do we have the authority as a state agency to go ahead and streamline your permit process or even just give you guidance that can help you achieve your development goals at an efficient pace? And so it's been a very real challenge for us as a team, but not only us, but the entire community of Kern County over the past, several years, 3, 4, 5 years, has been struggling to identify, who they are as a county and what kind of energy projects will be accepted by the state and by the people. So it's, I see it as this is the bridging moment. This is the moment where the industry has to be vocal and say, I'm going to raise my hand and say, hey, we've got a project that fits on every one of these bullet points, every one of these critical points of needing to get past the bureaucratic malaise and get on with building and get on with, and he recognizes in this permit delays cost money. It's the time value of money, and it's very hard to raise money for a project if when you go to an audience of investors, they say, well, I don't know when you're ever going to get a permit. I'm not going to give you money. I mean, it's very simple. Like, if you don't know when you're going to be able to build and break ground,
it's very difficult to plan for that. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so you're pretty pumped this on your side of the spectrum, but the majority of what I saw was a lot of clean energy investments and all that stuff. My thing is, though, again, we've discussed this, and I think this is coming to surface. You're talking about the energy boomerang. Clean energy is not defined, and what is clean energy? Again, I saw that. So I read the first 2.5 pages, 3 pages, and I saw that. So that was a immediate red flag to me. So what is clean energy? What will that support?
Yeah. So several things come to mind. Clean energy in general is going to be something that does not emit greenhouse gases, that does not add to our emissions as a country, a world, a state, whatever.
But again, at what point? At what point of the cycle is clean energy? Clean energy.
Yeah, and you know me, I'm a full life cycle kind of guy. I'm a holistic supply chain kind of guy, absolutely. And I'm a skeptic of lithium-ion batteries, for example, that are not sourced and made and manufactured here in the United States, which very few, if any, are from end to end. In our case, in California specifically, we have low carbon fuel standards. So that's a form and a pathway for folks in the oil and gas industry to identify methods to produce low carbon fuels. So that's one pathway that would be clean energy, cleaner fuels, lower carbon intensity in your fuels. On the electricity and the power side, it's wind, solar, geothermal. The Public Utility Commission has ordered a tremendous amount of clean energy to be brought online. And that's what this really addresses is, okay, the people want it. You've ordered it from the PUC. Now, how are we going to build it with all these agencies kind of pointing in every direction and not knowing how to get things across the finish line?
Well, so the first 3 pages, my takeaways. Number one, I love how he sets it up. So he kind of sets up the environment on kind of this and that. And I saw, of course, I'm a skeptic towards the government and also politicians.
Let's go through each one. Yeah, let's go through your notes.
So I just jotted a couple down. The first one, admitting that the regulatory has been bogged down. Again, I think that is a direct a result of the government's effort to bog things down and to do that. So I do like how he's calling that out. I saw one bullet point in there. It's like all this money's been set aside by the Biden administration, all that stuff. So now we have to put something together to maximize pretty much our share or the money that we can get from the government. So I'm not sure on how much it was on how this was thought out or what is it short term? Is this long term? I think this is very long term goals without any pathway between here and now, which a lot of the rhetoric is. There's no conversation on what does the interim look like. It's let's cut cold turkey now and move on, which you and I both know as a comfortable society, that's not going to happen. So again, grab as much as you can of this as fast as you can. Otherwise, it's going to go away, which makes sense. I get that. Another thing I wrote down, Mother Nature, and maybe you talk about this actually. Mother Nature. There's a whole whereas point in there when he says, you want me to read it? You got it pulled up? I got it pulled, dude.
Okay.
You act like I'm not prepped for this.
No, I know you are. I'm just looking at what you're talking about.
Now everyone's listening, knowing I'm not prepped. Okay, ready? Whereas disasters caused by climate change, including extreme heat, wildfires, flooding, and drought, pose unprecedented stress to the state's energy infrastructure and accelerating California's progress towards 100% clean electricity. Okay, and again, I shared the electricity map with mine yesterday, as well as meeting our carbon neutrality goal by 2045, necessitates modernizing our electric grid and building out a safe, reliable, resilient, affordable, and clean energy system of the future. Okay,
Right.
So number one, it's the California energy infrastructure, the reliability, the affordability, and all this stuff is not the result of poor energy policy or politicians shuffling kind of what their interests. It's the direct result of Mother Nature because of climate change, because of fossil fuels.
Yeah, well, he doesn't list fossil fuels in here, but we know
he doesn't even mention it.
No, and I don't even think the word fossil fuels is in this because that's really
hydrocarbons isn't in.
Right. It's really not there. There is no future for hydrocarbon expansion in California as we've known it. It's kind of to touch on. Well, we'll get back to that on this climate change issue. I think there's fair criticism for folks. A lot of people will say, "Hey, well, who cares if California becomes carbon neutral because you've got a no peeing section in the atmosphere," as Chuck and DRW and everybody states. True, fair. I think what the administration's trying to do is show, hey, we're committed to being a leader and leading by example and making that clean energy system a reality in California. So for me, I've come to accept that. I don't know that I agree that California can change the global environment, but if we're being called to develop clean energy systems and I'm not intending to move, then I better be on board, and I better be excited about documents like this. I better be excited about the fact that he's creating a task force to address the fragility of our grid, the carbon intensity of our grid, or the greenhouse gas intensity of our grid, and find ways from a business perspective to make money in this system. But climate change is happening. It's always going to be happening. We can't predict the weather. We can't predict. We've had a tremendous amount of rain here, so now you're seeing a lot of attention, and these policy windows open where you've got a wet season, and now you've got water storage as a focus. How do we capture water when it rains? How do we improve our reservoir systems? And so the clean energy build out and the clean power plants, that's my window, and that window is going to be open here for 20 years as we try to, like you say, get this money and get these projects rolling.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When the money comes in and all that stuff, all right, and is there like an oversight body that says, okay, well, this is actually going towards projects, or is this going to be one of those things where it kind of gets dumped in this little slush fund and to keep backing up? Will this affect everyday consumers' energy prices in the short term? I
don't believe so.
Okay.
I think we're short power. We are short natural gas. We import, 75-80% of our crude oil. We import 30% of our electricity. We import 90% of our natural gas. So those market conditions are going to exist for some time.
Could this be with and we're expecting, again, we've been talking about this for a long time. I don't think this again affects the electricity bills or anything like that. Could this should expected energy prices increase, right? Let's say they go up and electricity bills go up and all that stuff. Is this possibility where a subsidy is created to deal with those high energy prices when, again, masking the energy realities of what's going on about the marketplace?
I think a lot of the money coming in is going to be geared towards, grants and funding for clean energy projects, infrastructure projects, building out the grid. And yeah, I guess you would call it a subsidy. I mean, you've got 1.2 trillion in the Jobs Act, Infrastructure and Jobs Act, and you got 390 billion in the IRA. So those are pretty big subsidies coming, and a good chunk of that coming to California. And I think what this is really trying to get ahead of is, you don't want this tidal wave of money coming in and then nothing being able to be built because you've got all these agencies involved.
Competing, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not so much competing. It's just
not get too many chefs in the kitchen. Not competing.
Yeah, or like in our case, in Kern County, if you're developing a project, you're probably talking 7 or 8 agencies that are going to be looking at, you got Fish and Game for endangered species. You've got CalGEM for drilling oil and gas wells or geothermal wells. You've got Kern Planning and Natural Resources for permitting projects. You've got the Water Board for anything that could affect groundwater or surface, water at surface. You just have a tremendous amount of bureaucratic red tape that you have to get through. And so one of the things that's most interesting in this document is he's proposing a 9-month review for CEQA. So what happens, and this is happening on the oil and gas side, CEQA has been challenged
and CEQA is what?
CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act. Okay. And you have to certify your CEQA to build your project. Well, in the case of oil and gas in Kern County, the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Board put together an environmental impact review of the entire county. Okay. And it lays out, if you're drilling an oil well, it lays out you've got to buy this much, acre for acre land offsets. You've got to have air mitigation. You've got to basically mitigate for any environmental impact on your lease or your location. That's been legally challenged since I've been a part of our project, 2018. It's in and out of courts, 5 years. It was first proposed, I think, in 2015, and then it got legally challenged, resolved, legally challenged again, resolved, appealed. Now it's going to the appellate court of California, and I don't even think it's on the docket yet. So that probably won't get heard till early 2024. So when these legal challenges happen with a CEQA for either, a countywide EIR in this case, or for particular projects, you could be hung up in court for years and unable to develop your project. And I think that's what's most exciting about this is saying,
and hey, so what is this saying now?
This says, hey, if you've got a legal challenge, we're gonna settle this in the courts. It's gonna go to the courts, but we're gonna cap this at 9 months. We're gonna make sure your case is heard and ruled upon, so you can move forward. And that's a big deal. I think that's something at the national level that, as we hear about the debt ceiling and the negotiations, and they're trying to tie in permit streamlining to that, it's legitimate. It's a real significant issue that's going to impede our progress in any of these projects. So it's really encouraging to hear that.
Okay, good.
It's recognized. Yeah,
good. So you're pretty optimistic about this. You're pretty optimistic about the strike force, kind of the bureaucratic, and kind of getting investments in and kind of start building out new infrastructure and all that.
Yeah, I think we have to be. And I think, closing the loop on the fossil fuel side, I think that EIR and CEQA is going to be challenged at this appellate ruling, but then it could go one more level up to the state Supreme Court before you effectively have a certified EIR. And once that Kern County EIR gets certified, then they have the ability to permit, I think it's like 2,200 new wells a year. So then traditional oil and gas developers can now rely upon that EIR, and that's for their CEQA process, and drill wells. But it's probably still another 2 years away from reaching that point. So in the interim, if you're a company like us and you're trying to develop a clean power project, this is great. Like, let's cut this nonsense out before we even get too far down the road, because otherwise it's just a waste of everybody's time and money to do these projects. And they really only favor the massive developers that have the time and money to wait 10 years to get permits.
So okay, so what is this? This executive order N8023. So when is this kicking off? What's the next steps in this?
So he signed it on May 19th. It looks like it goes to the Secretary of State for signature. That's not signed there, but It says, I further direct that as soon as hereafter possible, this order be filed with the Office of the Secretary of State, and that widespread publicity and notice be given to this order. So it's on. And he's got several bills that are crossing his desk that he's going to be signing here, I think, over the next couple of weeks that tie into this, bills that are looking to streamline permitting and help build these infrastructure projects. So it looks like this is all kind of fitting together to make sure. Okay. I think I would imagine he's got 3.5 years left in office. He wants to make sure he can have the biggest impact possible while he's governor.
Okay. What else about this that should be on our radar that we should be listening to or advised about? Because I am kind of what?
No, no. You said you're kind. I'll let you finish. You're kind of.
No, I'm just kind of curious. I'm like, okay, so you're excited about it. So I want to know kind of like what else should people know about this? What else should I know about this?
Well, I think at the national level, this is a conversation that needs to start happening, now, because we're hearing about permit streamlining that hasn't happened. Joe Manchin was in this whole negotiation on how much we were going to put into this Jobs Act, how much the IRA was going to get, all of that. And if you recall, he was all about, we need permit reform as a part of this. And it really didn't happen at the federal level. So I see this, Governor Newsom's a smart guy. I mean, he's a polarizing figure, no doubt, but I think he's also taken a step out there and saying, hey, I'm going to put forth the roadmap to streamline this process on permitting these big projects. I think he's trying to lead on this. And I think we're going to start seeing more of this at the national level after they get through this whole debt ceiling stuff. But I think we're going to be hearing a lot about it in the energy world. And that's kind of the vibe I get, is he's trying to jump out in front of this and take a national, leadership role on permit reform.
Well, I think California definitely takes the leader when it comes to a lot of ideas and decisions. So let's see what happens. I guess time will tell when it comes to streamlining and getting the government more efficient. So we'll see what happens. All right, Mike, I want to thank you for tuning in today from California. Congrats to your son for scoring the goal. That's awesome. Absolutely. News. And then yes. Everyone, I appreciate you tuning in to Energy Facts Chats. Again, you can check out Mike Umbro and what he's doing out in California at www.energyandscience.com. That's Californians. Well, that's not the web. The website is www.energyandscience.com, and that's for Californians Energy and Science. And again, right. What they're trying to do is they're kind of the same thing: bridge energy expectations and realities. And so I appreciate taking your time, and I'm excited to see what happens with this. And let's get the government in line to see if they can actually get more efficient.
Yes, let's hold the malaise, baby.
You know what? We need a malaise light diet right now. That's kind of what's going on. So hold the malaise, extra task force or strike force.
That's right.
All right, strike buddy.
Force.
You have a weekend. You have an Energy Chats, and we appreciate you. And we'll talk to you soon.